Hello. Okay, this is not a session. Okay, this is really post lunch. And I just thought that we'll share a very small snippet of what we do at MMA. Uh, I hope you have enjoyed the first half. I would like to hear a big and loud yes that you have been enjoying. And what goes behind all of this is something that I really wanted to touch base upon. You know, I, as a practitioner of marketing, my hair is white, many people call me Bapa, okay? So, therefore, what really keeps us going is being curious, being provoked, and therefore try and create deep learning and knowledge, which of course changes because finally we'll deal with a living entity called a consumer who keeps on changing by every second and keeps changing because of the availability of technology. That spirit, when we look at MMA Indonesia, that's something which all the senior industry leaders, whether it is Bu Ira from Unilever, from Pa Tanto, Pa Liden, everybody, Rohit, Shant, everybody tries to bring that ecosystem together where we are listening to advertisers and the tech owners, which is the media owners, voices. We as agencies, therefore, also bring in a collective of the problems which we face and we believe are the real issues. And therefore, what you saw today in Rohit's, the output which you are going to, which there was this whole scan report, is something which really comes out of this detailed, passionate, and very honest, deep interrogation, introspection sessions. I'll give you a simple example. This was at the start of the year, and Indonesia is a very large mobile economy. The per capita mobile ownership is higher than 1. Digital is growing. There was, the digital disruption of television. And on top of that, there was enough news around the tech sector of the slowdown, the layoffs, etc., which was obviously happening in the western part of the world. But if there are large multinationals which are getting impacted by these economic issues, Indonesia is also part of the global trade, global economy. So it's not that we were left behind. So one of the things which we heard from Bu Ira was that how do we therefore look at example, a slump of consumer demand along with something like a modern retail, along with data for e-commerce, how do we try and get some of these things together? So therefore, how do we get insights which help business? So one of the things which therefore came across as one of the key priorities was how do you look at retail, data, and therefore e-com consumer journeys, how do we integrate together? And that will be one of the key outcomes that will drive some thinking. Already there is some work which is there in that report. And so that's where it came from. It came from a deep business observation, insight, and therefore how do we grow up to that challenge? One of the other thing about MMA, and we just played the video which was about how do we upscale our initiatives in terms of people, in terms of the young talent entering the industry. How do we really keep adding value in this process? The whole thing about education and impact. It's not education just for the sake of education, but also to have meaningful impact, which therefore impacts and improves the quality of our deliveries, quality of our, the entire overall ecosystem. And so therefore you see these programs around these joint tie-ups, which is part of that basic thinking. I remember in one of these meetings, Pa Tanto, who was from MTech, he was saying, and it's not about MTech or video.com. How do you really look at the whole creators economy or whatever you may want to call it? How do you look at this entire economy? What do we learn from TikTok? Okay, so it is not about who represents what business. It is about how the industry grows together collectively for an overall good. Okay, So therefore, this is really trying to make the whole ecosystem move from good to great. Okay. And so that is really the honest attempt, when we, take out hours in all, in all these, people's serious, strenuous, long schedules and try and, I remember, Himanshu saying, that, how measurement should be brought in, things which was probably planned pre-COVID and because of COVID could not be brought in, and therefore that's something which should be looked at. So there is this gentleman, again, part of the MMA Global Association, VAS, his name was, I think, Bakupalos or something like that, okay. So he was introducing us to this research which said that, actually, brand trust, and even Havas believes something like that, which is the meaningfulness of brands. Trust is under stress. And when the economy goes into a downturn, so if the economy, and this is obviously averaged out and, obviously regress data, that when the economy decreases by 1%, the advertising, economy decreases by 4%. Okay? Which means inherently, in a tight business situation, marketing is not the biggest driver, is the popular sentiment. Okay? So, hence, in such a tight business situation, how does MMA enable the marketeer over here to improve the marketing quality, the marketing ROI, the brand engagement, and long-term, profitability? After all, we have to all deliver profitability and a long-term sustainable profitability in all our businesses. So that's something, I just thought we will, we share with you that, the background thinking which, everybody brings together, and therefore you see these panels, laid out, which comes from the inherent spine of this thinking comes from how do you therefore look at what will be the big priority as far as, modern marketing is concerned. How do you bring in data? How do you bring in accountability? And how do you therefore deliver higher business growth in a sustainable way? I have had personally fantastic sessions with industry seniors and colleagues and, across and peer groups, and I guess all of you similarly will enjoy. I just wanted to thank, therefore, MMA and for all of your participation and support to us. Enjoy the rest of the day. I know that there is a very interesting session coming up, and that's probably in creativity. So therefore, somewhere it will be in that nebulous zone of, art and science. Finally, the consumer mind is not necessarily only AI, okay? So therefore, let's just see, how the spark flies and where do we get the fusion, the marriage between art and science. For the next session, thank you.